Hello, my name is James Lane from GTA Consultants, and I'd like to talk to you about low traffic neighbourhoods. So living local, definitely been forced upon us this year, but to be honest, I think we're starting to embrace it. There's always been projects in this space, and I've been lucky enough to be the lead designer on many of them, including Victoria's 20-minute neighbourhoods. I also work on a lot of local area traffic management schemes, and what often strikes me is that the briefs are often more focused on traffic calming rather than traffic removal. So when I approach these projects, I always start by asking if the traffic needs to be in the street in the first place. I love that we try and reduce speeds, and I do believe residential streets should be 30k an hour, but I also think we need to focus more on volume. And that's what a low traffic neighbourhood's trying to do. It's saying keep the traffic where it should be, leave the streets for the people who live on them. We all want neighbourhoods that are safer, quieter and less polluted, and we want to encourage more walking, cycling and public transport. If we get this right, we can achieve that quite easily. So how do we start? Well, two things are pretty important. You need good data and you need to speak to people. You need to ask people, what do they like and dislike about their neighbourhood? That's a good first question. But make sure you do more than an online survey. Reach out to local religious groups, community centres, care homes, schools, traders. Have pop-up events. Capture the feeling of the community. You've really got to show that you're genuine about listening to everybody's voice. Now, movement of place is a great framework, and you're definitely going to use it. But this is also a simple exercise to get you going. Zoom out a bit and start by mapping out your strategic movement corridors. Add in your hard borders like rivers and rail lines. Plot your key destinations like schools, parks, leisure centres, shops. Pretty soon you're going to have a map like this and your local neighbourhoods will start to appear. Now you might want to think, what's the best way to connect these areas, these neighbourhoods? If you can identify and break down the barriers between neighbourhoods, you've actually just developed a high-level walking and cycling plan. So let's focus on one of our neighbourhoods, and what are we trying to do here? Well, we want to maintain access to all the properties, and we want to minimise the impact to residents and other essential users of the space. We want designs that support safe system principles, we want to support local businesses, and we want to encourage our community to get outside and connect with each other. So there's several ways we can do this. One-way streets, for example. Now, they're a great low-cost solution, and sometimes just a couple of strategic changes is enough to make residential cut-throughs less attractive. But don't worry about engineers telling you they cause speeding. That can easily be addressed in the design. One-way streets create additional space for contraflow cycling, for widening footpath, adding trees, or creating space for people to stop and rest. They can benefit areas outside of schools enormously as traffic movements become more predictable. The footpath by the school gates can be expanded to create shorter crossings or a place where parents can sit, spend time, communicate with each other. And also, a one-way street outside a school makes it a lot easier if you want to add temporary traffic bans at school pick-up and drop-off times, something that's very popular in the UK and should be considered. It doesn't have to be one-way either. Sometimes a strategic no entry or no exit is a better option. The street can remain two-way for residents, and the space you no longer need could be an ideal place to develop a new crossing for pedestrians and cyclists. A similar treatment might be just closing off the arm of a roundabout to everybody except cyclists. A well-placed left in, left out can also stop people taking a shortcut if it sends them somewhere that they don't want to go. Pinch points can be useful, with or without a cycle bypass. You can use them to ban large vehicles or making it awkward for two-way traffic. They can be angled too for further traffic calming. Bus gates can be fantastic. They can even be timed if needed. I've heard people say that drivers will ignore them, and maybe some will. But what I would say is if traffic volumes went down from 4,000 cars per day to 300, would you say that's a good result? Now, apps like Google Maps are always going to send people down residential streets. But once they've been updated, you're automatically going to see less traffic. If it turns out you need more enforcement, you've just created an easy business case to work out the best way to do it. Modal filters are excellent. Come in all shapes and sizes. You can use bollards, planters, create pocket parks. They can be lockable so they can come down if they really need to. Diagonal filters can be a really good option as no one has to stop, and it means waste collection vehicles don't have to turn around. So you've got your designs and it's time to think about implementation. Now you're going to look at a trial. Trial gives you great flexibility and it gives local people a chance to give you live feedback. Be open to adapting the trial if something isn't working. Listen to what people are saying. These things take time. And examples in Waltham Forest in the UK People were actually carrying a coffin down the street, saying it was going to be the death of an area. Skip forward a few years, and a survey showed that only 2% of respondents wanted to scrap the scheme and go back to how it was. Plan it carefully and get the timing right, but just keep talking to people. Evaluating your treatment is going to be really important. I see a lot of evaluation of schemes with no data collected before implementation, and that's not going to help you. We recently developed a dashboard to help clients monitor and evaluate future schemes. This is the type of approach you should strongly consider so your scheme can stand up to scrutiny. You're going to face resistance, and here's a couple of things that sometimes come up. Emergency services, they're going to be generally supportive. There'll be less traffic on the road for them to encounter, and safer street conditions means less call-outs. Even with modal filters, you can easily adapt them to enable access. People with disabilities, they're still going to be able to drive around, but with less traffic around them. Others are going to be empowered to take to the streets by walking or cycling with regular or adapted bicycles. Using mobility scooters is going to be safer. Deliveries, they're still going to be able to get to your property. No one's going to be trapped. And traffic evaporation, it does exist. People change habits. Hammersmith Bridge in London recently closed, and it saw an area-wide reduction of 35% of traffic crossing the River Thames. Businesses are not all going to collapse. Evidence backs this up. Removing parking, doing parklets, it can be a concern, but just do the trial, support them, listen to their concerns. They'll soon see the benefits. So the end result might be something like this. You can access every colour in your car, but you can't pass from one colour to another without using the main roads. Does it work? Look, it takes careful planning and strong engagement, but these statistics from one of the mini Holland schemes in London show what is possible. Thanks for watching.